Okay, welcome everyone. It is 6 o'clock, so I'm going to call this meeting to order, and our first agenda item is the Pledge of Allegiance. So all rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item 1.3, adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So move, Goodburn.
All right, we have a first and second. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, we have a number of minutes here to approve. So item 1.4, do I have a motion to approve minutes from special meeting January 24th, 2022 on personnel issues?
So moved, Hembry.
Second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Borgman. That passes 7-0. 1.5, approval of minutes, special public comment meeting January 24th, 2022. Motion?
Move approval, Goodburn.
Second? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. 1.6, approval of minutes, regular meeting January 24, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Goodburn. Move approval.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All in favor say aye.
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 Nay? Motion passes 7-0. Item 1.7, approval of minutes, special meeting February 14th, 2022 on personnel issues. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve, Stratton.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Hembry.
All right. All in favor say aye.
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 Nay? Motion passes 7-0. 1.8, approval of minutes, special public comment meeting February 14th, 2022. Second?
Boyd Nerona, second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. 1.9, approval of minutes, regular meeting February 14th, 2022. Motion?
Motion, Hembry.
All right. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. We're on to communication items, 2.1, Superintendent Report. Dr. Hubbard?
Yes, thank you. So to start with, due to snow days, the deadline has been extended for the R&D Next Great Idea Pitch competition. Pitch applications are now due on Friday, March the 4th. Young innovators are able to pitch their idea for a chance to win cash prizes and advance their vision. We'll have a link in the recap to the application page. We are all excited for this competition and the student showcase that will be open for the community at the CAA in April. This is the 60th anniversary of the SMSD R&D Forum, and we extend our sincere appreciation to the Rainier family and the generous support of the forum since the beginning. We want to remind all families and staff of the upcoming transfer window in the district. All in-district transfer requests for K-11 for next year will begin on March 1st. For students in kindergarten for the 22-23, the transfer window opens on July 8th. Those who have a student approved for a transfer to another location already do not need to reapply. We'll include a link in the recap to the webpage that includes all the details and links to transfer request forms. Shawnee Mission is hosting a classified job fair from 4 to 6:30 on Thursday, March 10th, here at the Center for Academic Achievement. This is a great way to learn about positions in operations and maintenance, food service, and information and communication technology, and support positions like paraeducators and aides. Attendees can also learn about the benefits we offer, like paid holidays, retirement plans, and district fitness center, and on-site health clinic. This is a great way to join our team and be part of helping every child achieve their personal best. Dr. John Johnson, Athletic Director at Shawnee Mission South, received a Spirit of Sport recognition from the Kansas State High School Activities Association. This recognizes someone who inspires through activities. Dr. Johnson plans to retire in May, and he leaves on a high note with his work having led to Acacia's first ever Unified Bowling State Championship. Johnson is respected across our state, and we are so proud he has received this recognition. Recently, we had a team of culinary arts students bring home the gold at a Johnson County Community College culinary competition. Each team member won gold medals for their skill in making a salad or appetizer, an entree, and dessert in 1 hour. They also earned $500 scholarships. These students were sponsored by bistro chef and teacher Steve Vane. Congratulations to all of the competitors. The Shawnee Mission East boys swim team earned first place at the 6A state championship. At this meet, the Lancer team broke 3 school records and had 3 divers place in the top 12 of competition. The team is coached by Wiley Wright, so congratulations to the Shawnee Mission East Lancer swim team. I wanted to update you on a mitigation measure change that will go into effect tomorrow, Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. Mask wearing will become optional on all district-related transportation, including school buses. This change is being implemented based on new guidance from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, stating that the wearing of masks on buses or vans operated by public or private school systems, including early care and education child care program, is no longer required. So again, they will be optional on school buses, all school transportation starting tomorrow. And we will link a recap to the updated mitigation plan. And at this time, I would like to invite John Bartell, principal at Indian Woods Middle School, to the podium to introduce tonight's first All-Star Award recipient.
All right. Thank you, Board of Education. Thank you, Educational Leadership Team, for the invitation for tonight, and thank you for everybody else in attendance. It's my pleasure to announce Kim Harwood, paraprofessional at Indian Woods Middle School, as our All-Star recipient. Kim started with us last semester and quickly established a great rapport with our staff. She is relied upon heavily by our special education instructors and our classroom instructors to meet the needs of all the learners in the classroom. She also quickly established a relationship of trust with all the students. There are times where I would go down the hallway and she'd be sitting on the floor with students working on an assignment. Students that would be maybe on some other app other than what they should be working on, and she would politely nudge them in the correct direction. Her patience, her humor, and her willingness to help all students is greatly appreciated, not only by the teachers and the students, but by the administration as well. So our All-Star is Kim Harwood.
Kim came to us from another school when we were in desperate need of a paraprofessional. We were very short-staffed. The para, in particular, that worked with me and my team left. I had no one for a while. When we were able to get Kim, I was very excited about that.
She is one of our paraprofessionals. She works with our 8th grade mostly classes and helps students in those classes, some who have special education IEPs and then other kids who just need some help.
She works with all kids, not just IEP students, which I think makes it feel more authentic for all of the students to be receiving help, and it makes it feel normal and natural to get extra help from an adult, which is what we want. We want all of our kids to feel that way.
When she's in my class, she'll take some of the students that maybe struggle in some area, one area or another. She'll take them out, she'll work with them. She works with them in class mostly. Helps them just go to a deeper knowledge. I mean, she really digs in and gets the kids to understand what's going on. She simplifies it for them.
She is one that will sit on the floor with them, and they kind of huddle around. And that immediately struck me as, okay, the kids are buying into what she's doing.
Thank you so much for your work in my classroom, because you are helping these kids to learn, you're helping them to grow, and you're helping them to feel loved every day.
Kim, congratulations. Couldn't have been to a more deserving person, and I look forward to your help every day.
Congratulations. Of course, you're an all-star. You've been an all-star all along.
Kim, congratulations. We knew we had an all-star when we got you, and this just solidifies what everybody's thinking. Congratulations.
We so appreciate you. The kids appreciate you. They enjoy working with you, and we certainly am glad that you came to Indian Woods.
Awesome. I don't know what to say. It's kind of weird when you just have moved from a school to another school, but I live 3 minutes from Indian Woods and 45 minutes from Hawker Grove, so it was just kind of, I just decided to make a change. And sometimes when you're 63 years old, a change is a good thing because, you know, maybe I'll ward off Alzheimer's just a little bit longer. I'm not really sure who nominated me, which is very odd. But I thank that person, and I'm guessing that, are they here?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of. Okay, well. Anyways, I'm thinking that was probably from Hawker, but maybe not. Anyways, in my leaving from Hawker, it was hard because I had some amazing teachers there that I worked with and some amazing paras, but I'm meeting some really great new people at Woods. My daughter Beth was a graduate from Woods and a graduate from South. She has stories to tell about John Bartel being able to shoot a fly on the wall with a rubber band from 15 feet away. We're proud of
Curriculum.
Yeah. We're proud of Beth. She is an English teacher in Nebraska now, and as she is just starting her administrative degree. So anyways, I thank you. I thank you for this award. I'm sorry, but I have to say one more thing before I leave. It's important to let me, the board, know how important it was for paras to get computers and to get iPads. And I thank you very much for that decision because it took us to another level. And it was exciting to do the pilot of that at Hawker, and I just can't even tell you how excited we were that that decision was made. And anyway, thank you very much for the award. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Kim. I love this part of the meeting. It's my favorite part of any school board meeting. So at this time, I would like to invite Michelle Lord, principal at Corinth Elementary School, to the podium to introduce our second All-Star recipient.
Good evening. Tina LaPerry is someone who listens, helps people discover what they are feeling, and helps them to identify their options. She is available to discuss steps with people, help them discover their own strengths, and helps people discover they can help themselves. She helps people learn to choose and provide support for positive change. Mrs. LaPerry communicates and collaborates with staff, parents, and the entire community, and is always available to support wherever needed. No matter who you are or where you come from, all students benefit from social-emotional learning supports. Tina LaPerry steps into people's lives and makes a difference, and you may or may not know, but she is now a character in a published book called The Invisible Riptide. How remarkable it is to have someone be so inspired by the work that you do and then choose to make you a character in a book. I could go on and on about Mrs. LaPerry and what she does, but I believe we can all agree that having students share their voice is not only powerful, but impactful. They are why we do what we do, and they are the reason we are here. And so, at this time, I would like to have John come to the podium and share his thoughts regarding Mrs. LaPerry. Come stand up here.
I think Miss LaPerry is a great social worker because she really helps me out, and she just has helped me out a lot, and we've done great things together. And the reason I'm here is because I was really excited that she got this award, and I really think she's the one who deserves it.
So we will highlight Mrs. LaPerry in a video.
Tina is just an all-around rock star, so the All-Star Award, I think, is named for Tina.
She's the best partner we could ask for as parents here in the school.
She knows what she's doing, and she's constantly pushing herself to learn more.
We're so grateful that she's here full-time, and she does it all.
My son is in 5th grade, and this is the first year that he's had access to a social worker full-time. Having Mrs. LaPerry here has been an absolute game changer for our lives. She really works to bring up that win part of things and praise the positive, which is so important for growth in kids.
And Tina is a master at working with students, helping them cope with what's going on in their lives and in that particular moment, and get ready to go back to class and learn.
She helps out a lot of people, and she works really hard, and she really does a good job, and I'm thankful that I have her. She's a really good social worker, and I love her.
It is not very often that someone is so inspired by the work that they do to put you as a character in a book.
So she's the school counselor in the book. She was an inspiration, and she never stopped. And even in the pandemic, she created a personal web page for her students, which I just thought was so beautiful and brilliant, and something that she did just because she genuinely loves all of these kids.
Couldn't do a lot of what I do in my day without her. She is such a team player. She really focuses on kids' needs, and she cares so much.
She walks in and you can just see the stress melt away from them. It's really special to see the bond they've built already.
My daughter had a hard time one year, and she was able to listen to needs, and I can say today that my daughter still uses those skills. She's just the whole package.
Congratulations, Miss LaPerry. I'm so glad you won.
So excited for you and happy for you. Looking forward to working with you for many years to come.
We are so excited for you to be honored with the All-Star Award. Woo!
You've earned this, and we love you, and we appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for being a part of our life and a part of our school. Wholeheartedly think you deserve it, and we are cheering for you here in Corinth.
We are all so proud of you and are so grateful to have you here at Corinth.
Congratulations, Tina. You are so deserving of this award, and we are honored to get to work with you.
Tina, you are one of the most amazing humans I know. I know you don't like attention, but you are truly fantastic, and you are bringing me to tears. I'm so proud of you. You deserve this more than anyone, and I can't wait to see what you continue to do.
Wow, my heart's racing. I am truly honored to be recognized as a Shawnee Mission All-Star. I actually kind of feel like that not a lot of people could say that they truly enjoy their job as much as I do. And I'm really proud to say that I've been a part of the Shawnee Mission School District team for over 20 years now as a school social worker. So thank you so much.
Congratulations, Tina. And that concludes the superintendent report. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. All right, that brings us to the board reports, agenda item 2.2. Ms. Humbry, you're going to kick us off for the first two with SMAC PTA.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind folks at home that SMAC PTA, one of the key services they provide for the Shawnee Mission School District is operation of the clothing exchange, which is inside the Broadmoor building that also serves as our early childhood center. I got to go and volunteer and was just really amazed by the selection that they have there and the willingness they are to work with families to find what they needed for their students. A lot of school nurses are also coming by regularly and accessing everything from the clothing exchange. So just a reminder that that resource is out there.
Thank you. And then if you could continue on with the board report for the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation.
I don't have any big updates from them right now.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Mr. Stratton, KASB Board of Directors, anything new?
Sure, a couple of things to pass along. Recently, the executive director and team have been going around the state and having conversations with communities, and we hosted one of their conversations a week ago, and they continue to gather information just like any other organization. It's a time of change, and so our next board meeting for KSB board is going to be in March. It's hosted by the current president's home, which happens to be in Goodland, Kansas. So we all have a fun little ride ahead of us in a couple of weeks out to Goodland. The National School Board Association is at the convention is at the beginning of April, and I'll just pass along the updates as they are, and that is that they're going through a tough time as well. 21 of the 50 states have now either decided to leave or, quote, distance themselves from the National School Board Association. So there's a lot of work that needs to take place there as well. Many of us now know the new executive director there, and they're doing a lot of work as well. So I get to pass along the good news and the not so good news. That's what's going on in those two organizations.
Okay. I think that takes us to Ms. Goodburn with the Policy Review Committee. Have you, yeah, they won't meet until August.
Policy Review Committee has a meeting scheduled for the first quarter. It will be next Monday, March 7th, and I can't remember if it's at 3 or 3:30, but it's one of the two, 3 or 3:30. Dr. Hubbard's looking it up quick. It's at 3 or 3:30. 3:30, we believe, yes. 3:30.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, and then back to you, Mr. Stratton, with Finance and Facilities Committee.
Thank you. The previously scheduled Finance and Facilities Committee meeting was snowed out. So we have rescheduled, and we just selected the date today. So we'll be getting out the communication to everyone that we will be gathering that committee on March 31st at 4 o'clock. We do have 2 new members that have been appointed to that committee. And Brian Watson has agreed to serve on the committee, a retired principal from this district, and Kevin Broom is the appointee from the North area. Additionally, we've invited the committee to join us for our tour of the Westwood View that will take place on March 8th.
Okay, great. Thank you. That concludes our board report, so that takes us to 2.3, Board Financial Report. Dr. Hubbard.
Yeah, and I'll pass over to Mr. Knapp.
Thank you, and good evening, board. The January board financial reports and ESSER 2 financial report are attached to board docs for your review. We are 7 months into the fiscal year, and at this time, there is no expenditure line that is considerably going over budget at this time. And in fact, we keep monitoring our vacancy savings, utilities and student transportation, and the way they are trending now. They're on target to offset the $4.2 million in general state aid losses that we are going to receive because of our enrollment decrease that we had this year. In addition, that's reflected in these reports is the first half of the distribution of county taxes. So we get them in January and May. So those are reflected in the revenue numbers in this report. Not reflected is a payment that we received for the food service fund. So this past week, we received $450,000 in federal aid for the supply chain assistance. So that'll be reflected in next month's board meeting, but that was good news that I wanted to report. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from anyone? I have a quick question about the ESSER 3. We will be, when we have the rest of this year to spend down ESSER 2 and then would start drawing on ESSER 3 funds like in September or something like that?
So we still have to submit our ESSER 3 application. We're close to doing that, correct?
That's correct. That's our goal for this week. We got to answer some questions.
Okay. And then I believe we have to, I think they use the word liquidate. Is it liquidate?
It is liquidate by December.
Thank you. December of 24?
23 for
23.
ESSER 2. For ESSER
23
2.
for ESSER 2, okay. So there's a little forgiveness overlap there.
And then it's 24 for ESSER 3, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, moving on to item 2.4, legislative update.
Yeah, at this time I'd like to invite Stuart Little, who is our lobbyist, to the podium, and he's going to share an update on where we are in the session and what we should be looking for coming forward.
Thank you.
Good evening. Stuart Little with Little Government Relations in Topeka. I'm going to give you a brief update. I'd be happy to answer any questions. If there's anything I can't answer, I'll follow up with that. I want to thank, first of all, the board and the superintendent, and then David Smith, who's not here tonight, but he puts up with an innumerable amount of communication with me, and I apologize for that, but he continues to tolerate it. We are in the 8th week of the session. There are 4 weeks of the regular session left. They will take a break and come back at April 25th. So we are nearing the end of the legislative session, and there have been really, truly only 2 significant pieces of legislation that have passed so far: the big economic development plan and a congressional map, which is now in litigation, and we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, everything is still to be decided. Budget, policy, all those kind of things are still out. So as our discussion and going forward about K-12 issues advances, it's all in the context of everything else is still in play. In terms of the budget, I would just note the budget for K-12 is making its way through the process. The governor's budget includes the last year of the inflation to get back to the safe harbor from the court decision, and then in 23 we'll have the Midwest CPI kicking in and that going in to the additions that are coming in. So that is budget's making its way through the process slowly. I want to hit basically the couple of the big policy bills that we have going on, just so you're aware. I mean, you've been following along in the media. You're aware that there are at least a couple of policy issues that are of some significance. And one of them I'll refer to, which is substitute for House Bill 2615, is kind of the choice package of bills. This is the education savings account, the allowing for and codifying alternative educational opportunities, meaning local arrangements that can be made with a teacher to do things outside of the regular curriculum and get credit for that. And then the legislation that is the open transfer, essentially allowing a student to go to any public school district that they wanted to. So that's one package of bills that are out there. By the way, none of these have passed, even the House of Representatives. The Senate's the only one that's passed an education bill so far. So everything I'm describing on the House side is still seen. So that's that kind of bundle of legislation that is tied up performing those kind of services. The second one that I would kind of describe as kind of restraint or restrictions, and this has to do with House Bill 2662, which is kind of the rights of parents for you all to have the obligation to do all the things you're already doing, just apparently make it clearer and more obvious in terms of publishing information and access for parents and folks to see what's going on. And there's another provision, a small provision in that bill that has to do with restrictions on data use for testing and those kind of things. But that's kind of the bill that's got a lot of attention, that has is both the implications of it are overt in terms of what could be brought up as issues in books and materials and curriculum and those kind of things, and it's also kind of covert in terms of what may not get talked about anymore. And I think those are something that's going on. And I kind of note some of the conversation that took place tonight during public comment. Those were voices that weren't part of the conversation now, and I think in the last few weeks, as everything is kind of stalled out in the legislature for other reasons unrelated to this, there is a growing conversation taking place about exactly how far some of these things should go. And I think that what you were hearing tonight is a lot of ways, but a lot of the conversations that are going on. There's one other small kind of alternative package. There's a very strong push to be expanding virtual schools, changing the funding mechanisms, doing a lot of things to extend and expand the utilization of virtual schools. There is a Senate bill that passed, and this is related to assessments and the assessment data. And this came up as an issue, I think, for the district in the fall. And because the legislature a year ago had said you need to be doing building level assessments and gather that information and talk about where at-risk dollars are going. Well, that was, there's a bill that just passed the Senate that kind of clarifies that and articulates what needs to be done with that data and just make it available on the website. It's not very strenuous and aggressive, so it's there. So there's basically about 4 big bills sitting out here. The choice, the parents' rights, and then everything else kind of settles down below that. A couple of points I would make in conclusion. Last year, we had the same situation because we had the education savings account expansion, the scholarship, paired together with the budget. The budget's still sitting there, isn't done. We anticipate them being put together and run together with one of those other bundles of bills. We're going to have the same situation we had last year. If you'll recall, last year the bill would have passed and gone to the governor, but for one senator that changed their vote and the bill died. So we're likely to be in that situation again. If the bill goes to the governor, there is some expectation that the governor would, particularly if it's the education savings account, I think there would likely be a veto of that. We'd be into the conversation about what would happen there. So all of those things are still in the mix. I would note, lots of these bills, and there's a lengthy list of other bills that have been introduced that are still alive. A lot of them have died. Lots of these bills have been introduced and had some hearings and some vote to get votes. It is not necessarily that this is public policy that people want to have implemented, because everybody's thinking about elections coming up this fall. It's my job to bring up elections, so I talk about this is about electioneering and those kind of things. So it's not necessarily if it's a good vote that some folks want to have, maybe the biggest picture there. So I would note that we still are anticipating these things getting put together, that the biggest issues that are still out there that are going to weigh on everybody's minds as much as education, and frankly, these are probably more significant, and that may diminish some of the significance and reduce some of the heat on these K-12 issues. Obviously, we've got a tremendous amount of tax policy going on. The elimination of the sales tax on food. There's a broad package of tax issues that have passed out of other committees. We've got, most fundamentally, redistricting, which is, you can't write about it in the papers because so many things are happening behind the scenes, but it underlays every conversation about every policy choice that's taking place right now, because you've already got the congressional map. Now they're talking about each other's districts. What does my House district look like? What does my Senate district look like? So there's real significant dynamics going on there. So within the next 4 weeks, we will have something put together, probably within the next 2 weeks, and things will be headed to the floor of the House probably first, and then over to the Senate. And I'll keep you all updated, and we'll be making sure that the members of our delegation are informed of how whatever emerges corresponds to both the district's public policy platform and any other guidance you all may provide me. I'd be happy to answer questions.
President Sinclair, before we do any questions, can you just double check the phone? Jamie's cannot hear for some reason. Maybe it's the mic, I don't know.
All right, Jamie, can you hear?
I thought I heard it beep earlier.
Could we maybe get some, just some technical assistance?
Or maybe can you guys disconnect and I'll have her recall?
Yeah. Okay, so we probably need to end the call. Okay, sorry about that, Ms. Borgman. We're going to get you back connected.
She said she just tried and it was busy.
Oh, we got you back?
Yes, sorry, thank you.
Oh, great,
Awesome.
thank you. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
Thank you. So thank you, Stuart, and then I'll turn it to you for questions, Mary.
Okay, I'm going to look down the dais here, and I'm going to start with Ms. Hembry if you have any questions about the presentation or the legislative update we received.
Dr. Little, my question is just confirming sort of what we should expect over the next couple of months as this session closes out. It sounds like redistricting is the big thing hanging out there, and there will not be a lot moving until that gets resolved. Am I hearing that correctly?
Well, I think they'll all move about at the same time because they're all connected. You're going to need votes on tax bills. You're going to need votes on maps. You're going to need votes on school finance. And so all those things are going to all come together probably at about the same time. We're back to, after this week's over, which is kind of a lost week because there's not a lot of work after the turnaround break. But so we'll go through 4 weeks. We'll have about 2 weeks in committee. Everything will be put together. And then we'll start having conference committee kind of that last week of March, and then by April 1st, something will pass and be sent somewhere. So those will all come together probably in some connected way at some point as everything kind of goes to the floor the last week of the regular session. And then, of course, what will happen is the legislature then leaves on April 1st, come back on April 25th, and during that time, the governor has the capacity to evaluate, make vetoes, any of those kind of things. Or they may not resolve all of those issues by the time of April 1st and then come back on April 25th and begin to do work then there. So I anticipate that redistricting is underlying a lot of this, but there are a lot of significant tax bills out there. With the amount of revenue that the state has, there's a tremendous amount of conversation about what to do with those. Because it's not just tax. People are attempting to spend a tremendous amount of money in the budget as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Boyd-Nerona.
Yeah, Dr. Little, I don't have any questions. Kind of you already answered it as far as I just wanted to gain more clarity on these next 4 weeks. What does that look like, and what the trajectory of what happens within that time frame determines what's next. So you answered my question, but thank you for your due diligence as always.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Borgman, were you able to listen to the update?
The phone cut out in the middle of it. I'm sorry, Dr. Little, but I'm sure that you said something along the lines of the state legislature is fully funding public education. Is that right?
They are fulfilling the requirements of the Supreme Court decision and adding the last year of inflationary funding and then putting in the CPI increase in 23. I would note while all that's happening, though, special ed funding is continuing to go down as a proportion. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Borgman. Ms. Owsley.
Well, thank you, Dr. Little. Your work in Topeka is appreciated. I have, well, maybe 2 questions. The first question is that we have 2 education committees in the House, and one is supposed to be like the budget committee. But it seems like all of the policy is going through that K through 12 budget committee. Is there any reason as to that, or and as opposed to it just being about the budget?
well, structurally and organizationally, there is a House Education Committee which is designed to perform policy work and look at policy legislation. The House K-12 Education Budget Committee is essentially the subcommittee of the House Appropriations Committee. There are folks that are on the Appropriations Committee are also on that I call it a subcommittee because that's what it is. It has a bigger name, but it's a subcommittee. And they do all of the work, and their main function is to deal with the budget, as are all of the other there's an agriculture subcommittee and a health and human services subcommittee, and they work the budgets for that. In the last few years, it has become more of a matter that the K-12 Education Budget Committee is marrying policy and funding together in legislation, and so that's why we're getting a lot more bills coming out of that committee, because it's tied up more in relationship to where the state, since money is an important part of policy, tying those two together, they tend to be more issues coming out of that committee.
And then we had talked briefly about the special education funding, and I was wondering if you could explain the concept for everybody here about how even if the amount of funding we receive for special education, which is less than what the statute says that we should receive, even if they continue to fund it at the same amount as a percentage, it goes down because the cost increases? Like, is it possible for you could touch on that? Because I'm not sure that that's clear for a lot of people, and I wanted to have an opportunity to have an expert discuss it.
Well, I may defer it on the technical side to Mr. Knapp to talk about some of that. But in general, if I get this wrong, Russ, please correct me. But in general, the state reimburses for the expenses from the prior year, and depending on a variety of factors, including the cost of labor and all those issues, that depending on where one may be geographically or in a school district, the amount of state aid that you receive is vastly different. And we've had post audits done to that, and some folks are below 50% in what they receive, and some are over 180% of what they receive. And so that what your cost of labor has an impact, the resources that are put into the system that a district would commit to the system may lower how much state aid you have. And then in the bigger sense of things, as the Gannon resolution has been adding revenue to the base and to weightings and those kinds of things, that begins to exceed. The special ed funding does not keep up at that same rate, and so the gap in the state aid is kind of perpetually in decline at that point. If you're not, I think we're down to low 70s at this point, maybe even below that. Russ, was that reasonably accurate?
Yes, that's correct. And I would just add that the governor's budget adds $7.5 million each year into the SPED, and that's what came out of the Gannon case. But as your student transportation increases, you give raises, you add paras, you add teachers. When school districts get more state aid, they're going to add those positions that they desirably want over the years that they couldn't afford. Those are all costs that he talked about being reimbursed out of that one pot of money. So it's a pot of money and then all the reimbursements, and then they have to adjust that special education reimbursement rate down to distribute it all out, and you end up sometimes losing money in your reimbursements.
And for us, that number is roughly $8.5 million. Is that?
Yeah, we're talking about, you're kind of referring to excess costs.
Mm-hmm.
State of Kansas goal has always been 92%, and I think
it's in statute, I think, isn't it? It's in statute, right? 92%?
It is in statute, but there's not an enforcement mechanism.
Yeah, and they're not enforcing it, and I think the state is down in the 70, what'd you say, 70?
Like 72, 71.
72,
like
we're at about 65% the last time I calculated, and it would take about $8 million more in special education to get us up to 92%.
So if the state met its statutory obligation, we would have approximately $8 million more to put towards special ed, freeing up that $8 million in operational funds.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a couple budget-related questions as well. And just looking at the active bills on the table that are, still have potential for being worked, there is the education savings account kind of voucher program that would potentially take a significant amount of revenue out of the public education pot to make it available for tuition in private schools. And so with that one, has there been a run like per district to know what kind of hit each district could take on that fiscal note? I thought the fiscal note was pretty big, but I don't even, has there been like a district run to even see what kind of hit each district would take?
I don't recall this fiscal note off the top of my head, but I think it was over 100 million, I believe. But I have not seen a run by district, because I think the only way one would be able, you have no idea where someone would choose to use it. You could do the parameters of
who's eligible or something.
Free and reduced plus, and because the thing that's important, it's free and reduced plus a student who may be accessing at-risk services, which is even broader than that. So whatever that definition would be an eligible population. I suppose theoretically someone could come up with that by district and do something, but
Well, and then you have to add into that equation where there's actually accredited private schools available.
True.
Well, I was just thinking, it could
Yeah,
be.
and then if you look at where the most of them are available, it would be Topeka, and then we would be second. For Wichita, then us, then Topeka, KCK. So we have 15 in our district, where we would be the second most impacted.
It would be a big hit to our budget, potentially. Yeah.
They would take,
Could.
yeah, they would take the base away, yeah, for sure.
And then there's the two other ones. There's one with high density at risk, that potentially those dollars would be reallocated for a different educational purpose. Is that still alive?
This is, I believe, 2690. This is part of the reading program, and it would take the $50 million that's in the high density at risk and redistribute that as merit pay for teachers based on, I believe it's just third grade literacy and assessments and those kind of things, and distribute out around the state. So it essentially would take a revenue source generated by at-risk high density and then distribute it to merit pay around the state for related to student performance.
So that would be a couple million for us, potentially?
For us, it would be, with LOB, it's a total about 900,000, but there'd be a
million.
loss to us, and that sunsets at the end of 23, 24.
Okay. And then at least, I don't know if there's other ones with huge fiscal notes potentially that would negatively impact Shawnee Mission, but the whole mill levy, well, we don't need to go down that road, but anyways, are there any other ones that we should be watching that have a negative impact financially on Shawnee Mission? Those two would be damaging enough. But.
Well, the only other thing that legitimately still out there, it's in front of the court now, but has to do with evaluations and the dark store theory and what may come from the court and how that may be interpreted by the legislature and turned into changing commercial property assessments.
Stuart, is the fine still associated with the parent right bill in regards to if we didn't post something, it's like $1 million fine or a percentage? Is that still floating?
That was in the Senate bill, I believe, that did not get out of committee, that fine. And I don't think it's and I do not believe it's in either of the bundles, but when that popped up, we were all paying very careful attention, so, yeah.
All right, thank you. Ms. Goodburn.
I don't have anything, but thank you for your work. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mr. Stratton.
My esteemed colleagues have asked all the questions I had, so I have no others. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for being here and all the work you do. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the consent items. So I need a motion to approve.
So moved, Owsley.
Okay, a second.
Goodburn.
All right. All in favor of the consent items through 5.3, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes to approve consent item 7.0. Thank you. That takes us to action item 6.1, approval of Phillips Paving Company, Inc. for the 2022 annual asphalt improvements. Dr. Hubbard.
Yeah, thank you. So all three action items tonight are really focused around the operations team. So I'm going to ask Dr. Gilhouse to take the lead on all three of these action items.
Thank you. 6.01 is the approval of the Phillips Paving Company for 8 elementary schools and our softball complex. One thing we did unique this year is that we combined the asphalt and the concrete bid together for these projects, and therefore received a much more competitive and a better price. This is why we continue to use our capital outlay funds instead of projecting that onto the bond, because when you do the individual bond works, the concrete is so expensive and it's unique to each project as well as new rebuild. So we felt like we were getting more bang for our buck taking it out of capital outlay.
I'm going to seek a motion and then in a second, and then we'll take questions.
Move approval, Goodburn.
Thank you.
Second, Owsley.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion passes 6.1, 7.0, or passes 7-0. Next, item 6.2, approval of the Kansas City audiovisual.
That's
for
correct.
Purchase and installation.
This is our cycle of eliminating the projectors throughout the district in our schools and putting in the new televisions. These prices that you're seeing before you associated with the 5 schools, many of these are being done with the bond process right now, so this is a great opportunity to cycle this out through capital outlay. Our communication, our bid with Kansas City Audio Visual, they come in, they take down, they put the new TVs up, they put the brackets, they do all the installation, and so that's kind of where we're at with this process there.
Okay. Could I seek a motion?
So move, Goodburn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stratton. Any questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. That takes us to 6.3, approval of purchase for vehicles. So we have a couple of trucks.
That's
on the
correct. We
agenda.
have a few trucks that we're purchasing on cycle to stay on top of these with our maintenance department. 2 2.5-ton trucks, 3/4-ton trucks. Some of them, the M3 is more like a little Ford Ranger. There have been some questions about conversion to electricity for these vehicles. Currently, operations and maintenance does not have electric stations to where that we can charge those vehicles. Another challenge we have with the larger vehicles, the 3/4, the 1-ton, the 2.5-ton trucks, they don't hold the charge long enough for our plowing, or they don't make batteries big enough for that scenario at this time. So we will continue to look at that as that becomes available for a battery to last throughout the evening when we have to plow facilities to have that last, and look at a possible charging station in the future at operations and maintenance as we look towards converting that in the future.
I appreciate the intentionality of running that through that filter, so thank you. So I need a motion and a second.
So moved. Owsley?
Second, Goodburn.
All right. Any questions? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Okay, that brings us to, thank you for those reports, Dr. Gilhouse. And that brings us to board comments. And I believe Ms. Boyd Nerona, do you want to kick us off with board comments?
For sure. Let's see, this week, some of the board members had an awesome opportunity to meet, greet, and tour some schools with the Kansas Teacher of the Year persons. It was a joy. It was at Shawnee Mission North, so we got to see a lot of new things and changes at that school as well. Just so an extra appreciation for the teachers, educators, all across the board that are in the classrooms day in, day out on the front lines with our students. Last but certainly not least, this being the last day of Black History Month, I want to end with a quote from one of my sheroes, Marion Wright Elderman, the president of the Children's Defense Fund and a social activist specifically for child advocacy. And one of her well-known quotes is, service is the rent we pay for living. And all of us here are giving of service and in service. So I hope that you all look at us and see that in all that we do, say, and in our being at the very core of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Borgman.
Sorry I couldn't be with you all tonight. Just wanted to say thank you so much for the public comments of support. They were very appreciated and very needed. So again, thank you to those who spoke up. And, you know, last board meeting was pretty intense, and I do appreciate those who recognize that and, you know, are not willing to put up with it, just like we are not willing to put up with it. So thank you.
All right. Ms. Owsley.
I just wanted to thank the PTAs that had invited both you and I and Ms. Hembry to come and speak about board service and issues facing the district in Topeka. I really appreciated their input, and they're willing to host. And then they were putting together some postcards to send to their legislators to ask them to, vote on things that would benefit our school district. And so really, we had chatted. One of the things that I had noticed in the K-12 committee is that when Representative Joella Hoy was talking on an issue, she was like, I actually remember my PTA discussing that. And so she went to her PTA website and she pulled up the PTA notes from 4 or 5 years ago, discussing actually diversity and inclusion and cultural competency, and the notes there were about how her community supported that, and that was an interest and a priority to them. And so I just thought, for all the PTA presidents out there who keep the receipts, and for all the PTA secretaries who make the notes, and they're available for folks to go and look them up. There's a lot of people who do this volunteer service thing, and you are all appreciated.
Thank you. Ms. Goodburn.
I just wanted to say I love being in the building last week, too, with the Kansas Teacher of the Year, that cadre that goes around to the different districts, and it was just lovely seeing students again. And I also was able to go to Performing Arts Shrek at North, and it was a great performance, and I just love being in the buildings again.
I'm sorry, Mr. Stratton.
In the context of continual learning, I'll invite or encourage all of my fellow board members, if you hadn't had a chance yet, viewing the Auschwitz exhibit at Union Station is clearly an incredible moving experience. I had the opportunity to do that this weekend. Little did I know when I bought the tickets 2 months ago that we'd be having the world events that we're having right now. And so through that lens, it was a much different experience. To experience that and say, could this ever happen again? So if you have a chance, I think it's here for another couple of months. It's an incredible experience.
Thank you. Ms. Hembry.
I got to see Grease. I wish I could have seen Shrek as well. I just wanted to give a shout out. I think it was really clear to me how many adjustments our performing arts folks have had to make over the last couple of years, and students were singing with masks on, and they sounded as incredible as ever, and they were out there dancing their little hearts out, and it was just absolutely delightful to see our students showing off all their talents. So thank you to everyone who makes all those extra things happen, because I think they matter a lot.
All right, thank you. I did enjoy also the Teacher of the Year award, kind of meeting those folks and joining that tour at North. That was wonderful, and I think we had our 2020 Teacher of the Year, Ms. Maltino, taking them around and touring. That was great. Thank you for doing that. I just wanted to give a shout out to add to this course here back to our students. We had some championships in state competition with our swim and dive team, so congratulations to the East Boys for winning that. And we had some girls wrestling represent at state from Northwest, South, and West. And just wanted to do a shout out, good luck to our bowlers next week, and to our basketball teams heading to Sub-State. And I believe with that, our meeting is concluded. And it is before 7 o'clock.